GearNetwork.com.
This is a Gear Network production.
Live from the Wolfe Den Studios, you are listening to Better Live Than Dead.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast, Better Live Than Dead, episode number 99. We're almost there. We've almost reached 100. For a while, we were going strong. Took some time off, but now guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are Better Live Than Dead. Talking NFL football. But before we go too far, in case you may have forgotten in the past couple months, I am Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter, joined by my co-host, by the original Better Live Than Dead podcast co-host, Mr. Perez. How you doing?
Episode 99. What's up, Ryan? I'm feeling good, bro.
I'm feeling good too, man. It's time to have some talk about the NFL playoffs. The season's over. Week 17 just ended a handful of days ago. The NFL playoffs are coming up this weekend. We've got some very fantastic, very interesting matchups. And the cool thing too, with the sake of time on our hands, just a few months ago, we talked about the National Football League in a preseason preview, and we
yes, we did.
Gave out some bold predictions, which we're going to go over here shortly before we talk NFL playoffs this season. But again, I want to say I am at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter. Perez is at MRLG Perez on Twitter. You can check us out, BLTDsports.com, Facebook.com/BLTD. You can also follow us on Twitter at BLTD Sports. Now, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time. It's been a couple months, been a couple days, been a couple minutes. But you know what? I want to jump in head first here. Because like I said, we made some bold predictions back in September, the first week of September. I believe it was around September 6th, if I'm not mistaken. We picked the top 6 of the AFC, the top 6 of the NFC. We gave you a shocking prediction, as well as a not-so-shocking prediction, and a Super Bowl winner prediction. We'll get to those later, but first off, Perez, I want to start off with your AFC picks, and then we'll talk about my AFC picks. Let's see what you had to say for the AFC.
Go ahead. I got Cincinnati as number 1 also, followed by the New England Patriots, followed by Houston. I think they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but not go far in the playoffs. Then I have Kansas City, Oakland, and then Tennessee.
Now let's see what I had to say about the AFC back in September.
So you know
Top
I couldn't hear
6
that.
AFC. I've got the Bengals, the Patriots, number 2. Number 3, I've got the Denver Broncos solely because of their defense. I've got the Jaguars 4 as the AFC South champions. My first wild card, kind of a bit of a shocker, but not really if you've been paying attention to out west, the Oakland Raiders. If they don't make the jump this year, I'm not sure when they're going to do it. Wrapping up the field in the AFC, I have the Indianapolis Colts.
So it looks like, for the most part, we were not right, which is okay. I mean, I think for you, Lewis, I think your prediction of Houston was about as spot on as it gets. I kind of made sure to leave the chunk of Houston in and the chunk of Oakland in for you and me to kind of, because those were the ones we nailed. I mean, we guessed New England. That's a given. We know England's going to be in the playoffs. I mean, we both went Cincinnati high. Cincinnati had a bad year. We saw that. I mean, they just kind of fell apart, didn't live up to expectations, whatever. But with you, with Houston, you said obviously they're going to do good enough to get in. They're not going to go very far after that. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but you may be spot on there. And then I said Oakland, this was the year Oakland was going to make the jump. If they didn't make that jump, I don't know when it was going to happen. Well, guess what? It happens. We'll talk a little more about that because Houston and Oakland play each other. Now, real quick, before we move on to those playoff matchups, like I said, I want to get all these out of the way because I just want to have a good laugh, a nice little look back, a retrospective moment here on the podcast. I want to go over to your NFC picks and then my NFC picks, and we'll move forward from there.
The NFC, let's do it. I had to rework it because I had Dallas as number 1 until Romo got hurt. So coming out of the NFC, number 1, I have Seattle. I think they're going to be a tough team again this year. And I think they're going to be slightly better than Carolina, who I have number 2. Then I have Atlanta, Green Bay, Minnesota, then the Cowboys.
Top 6, AFC. I've got the Bengals, the Patriots, number 2.
It helps if I hit the right one.
For me in the NFC, until further notice, barring health, I have the Arizona Cardinals, the best team in the NFC. I've got the Panthers 2, again, ain't broke, don't fix it. 3, I originally was going to go Minnesota because of Bridgewater. But with Minnesota losing Teddy Bridgewater, I'm putting Green Bay to win. So I'm comfortable going Washington 4. 5, I've got Seattle. And then rounding up the tail end in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings.
So I must say I suck really bad. I only picked 2 of 6 in the NFC. Now, Lewis, with you, I have I got to give you some credit. I mean, I know you go Dallas high every year. You're kind of like Chris Berman when he always predicts the 49ers and the Bills in the Super Bowl every year. But
right.
Before Romo, I mean, nobody could have seen the season that the Dallas Cowboys are going to have. I mean, we kind of had a guess with Romo, with Ezekiel Elliott. They were going to do something good. Romo gets hurt, breaks his back. Dak Prescott comes in. Nobody knows what's going to happen. They come out and they go 13-3. Amazing, fantastic season for the Dallas Cowboys. And like I said, we'll get into that just a little later. But I want to run through the shocking and not so shocking things because these are good. These are very, very good. I promise you. And,
I can't hear what's being said.
That's okay. I can. We're having some technical difficulties. We're doing it live, but I can let you know.
I do know that my not so my shocking didn't come true. I do know that.
Yeah, neither did mine. And it's very bad. Mine's worse than yours. I'll just put it. I'll put that there. Let's see what we had to say.
Let's go ahead. When Tom Brady comes back from his suspension, he's not going to lose a game until the playoffs.
Now that one, Lewis, I got to give that to you. You were almost hit the nail on the head. You said when Tom Brady comes back from suspension, he will not lose a game to the playoffs. Now that hasn't. It's not necessarily over yet. Tom Brady lost one game.
Right.
So I'm willing to give that to you. Even if he doesn't lose in the playoffs, I'm willing to give that to you.
Thank you.
Now into my not so shocking. It's not very shocking.
For the 17th straight year, I've got the Buffalo Bills missing the playoffs.
Buffalo Bills missed the playoffs for the 17th straight year. That was pretty much the biggest layup I've ever had in podcast history. That's
a good one.
The easiest one to say. Now on to the shocking thing. We went a little too shocking, apparently, because we were both wrong. But it's okay. Let's listen to what we had to say.
The shocking thing that I believe is going to happen this year is that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to make the playoffs.
Now, Lewis, you had the Pittsburgh Steelers not making the playoffs, but like I said, it's okay. It's okay. You can take an L on that one because mine blows yours out of the water by 1,000,000 miles, I promise you.
Okay.
I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win the AFC South.
I picked the Jacksonville Jaguars to win the AFC South. So,
oh yeah, you were super wrong.
I was not even in the right state, let alone zip code on that one. I mean, Jacksonville won 3 games.
Right.
Granted, it took 9 to win the division, so they won a third of the games they needed to win.
That's true. That's true.
But, oh my goodness, I was completely off on that one.
You know, Pittsburgh had its struggles in the middle of the season.
They did.
But they finished strong like they needed to squeak into the playoffs.
I just got to say, before we move to the playoff picture here, if Ben Roethlisberger was out longer with his knee injury and it happened at a different time of the season, they probably wouldn't have made the playoffs.
Yeah, it's possible.
But good teams know how to win. That's just the long and the short of it. I mean, they missed Le'Veon Bell for a handful of games. Ben Roethlisberger's out a few games, but they somehow go 11-5 and make the playoffs. And you know what? That's a good segue over to the actual playoff preview portion of the NFL playoff preview cast. Coming up on January 7th, January 8th, we have 4 football games. And
Yes, we do.
the quality among these 4 football games is drastic. First off, we've got the 6th seed in the... We'll start AFC, go to NFC. AFC, Miami, the Dolphins, 10-6, make the playoffs as a 6th seed. Haven't had a bad season. They lose Ryan Tannehill. Matt Moore's the quarterback. Ryan Tannehill may try to return, but we'll see what happens there. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, the Steelers are the 3 seed. Lewis, in this game, I know where your allegiances lie, but who do you think has the upper hand in this matchup coming up in the wild card?
You know, the way Pittsburgh's been played, I have to give it to Pittsburgh. Would I like to see Pittsburgh lose? Yes. Do I think they're going to lose? No. Miami looks good. You know, they played a better season than I thought they were going to, but they're prone to mistakes, and I just don't think they have the firepower to keep up with Pittsburgh.
Now, in the matchup earlier this season, the Dolphins did beat the Steelers thanks to Jay Ajaki running wild on the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you know what? Like you said, Lewis, there are 2 teams, or there are actually 3 teams in the National Football League right now that play in the wild card round that I don't think anybody wants to see advance. Because they've just been playing fantastic football. And we'll get to the other 2 in a second, but Pittsburgh definitely is one of them. Pittsburgh is one of those teams where they've got an easy road. I mean, if they beat the Dolphins, they'll likely go. They're going to go play the Chiefs in Kansas City. So you'll have Pittsburgh versus Kansas City, because I'm going Steelers as well. I think Miami's one of those where they're just happy to be in. They're happy to be there.
Right.
But I think Pittsburgh's going to take this game without problem. I mean, we could be surprised, but I just think Ben Roethlisberger in the playoffs is quite a sure thing, at least until he plays the Patriots later, if it does happen. But
I agree.
moving over to the other wild card game, we head to Houston, the site of the Super Bowl this season. Oakland takes on the Houston Texans. Now, this game in recent weeks has taken quite a turn for the worse. Oakland, originally the 2 seed. They were on their way to a very solid season. I mean, the 12-4 is not bad, but when they were the 2 seed, you get home field advantage, you get a week off.
Right.
And Derek Carr fractures his fibula. He gets sacked, gets tackled, his ankle gets caught up, he fractures his leg, and now he's out. So Matt McGloin comes in, and Matt McGloin apparently has a concussion now, and it doesn't look like he's going to play. So Connor Cook of Michigan State will likely start for Oakland this weekend. And for Houston, Brock Osweiler, the $70 million man, gets benched because he apparently has a case of the yips and can't throw the ball forward to a receiver. He gets benched for Tom Savage, who then comes in and gets hurt. And now it looks like it's going to be Connor Cook for Brock Osweiler this weekend in this playoff game. And, I mean, for me, I got to go Oakland because I don't think Houston's got enough offensively to get past Oakland. I mean, maybe they do. But either way, if Pittsburgh beats Miami, the winner of this game is staring down the New England Patriots, and good luck. I mean, this game is probably going to be the worst game of the weekend, I'm thinking.
Probably. You know, you have a third-string quarterback against overpaid first-string quarterback. And, you know, we mocked Houston quite a bit when they signed Osweiler to a $70 million contract. But we do know that Osweiler can throw the ball. He's a very serviceable quarterback when his head's in the game. I don't think Oakland's going to be able to overcome the loss of Carr, and I'm going Houston.
And I'm going to say Oakland. I just think that with the running attack that they've had, I mean, yeah, they've struggled. It's been a struggle the past couple of weeks because Latavius Murray has had issues with when he gets the ball. He has issues with running effectively forward, and Jalen Richard has been good. I think that they can make it work well enough to get to New England, but I'm not sure if it goes much further than that. But I mean, I want to say Oakland continues their run and it wins at least one playoff game, but I don't think it goes any further than that. They
played in, what did they play? Week 11? And
they played in Mexico City, Oakland and Houston.
Right, and I believe Houston won that game.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Houston's going to do it again.
I just think Oakland's better than they were then, but then again, with Derek Carr being out of the lineup, it's difficult to say, honestly, because he was obviously such an integral part of that offense, but I just think that they can do enough. They can game plan well enough to shut down Brock Osweiler defensively or whoever may be under center, and they can do just enough offensively to win the game and move forward. But moving over to the NFC now for the wild card round, we have Detroit back in the playoffs. I mean, they started 9-4, finished 9-7. Don't really finish the season on any sort of run that they wanted to finish. Obviously they want to be better than losing the last 3 games going to the playoffs, but they got some help, and they are the 6th seed. They head to Seattle to face the Seahawks, who finished the season 10-5-1. In this game, I don't think there's any question, at least on my end, that Seattle is going to take this one. Probably not easily, because Seattle has struggled this year, but I certainly think Seattle's going to take this matchup against Detroit.
I'm going the opposite direction. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going with Seattle also. I think Detroit's just happy to be there, like you said. I think Seattle has definitely been more of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type team this year. They'll have games where they look like the old Seattle, and they're just unstoppable. And then they'll have games where they look like a Pop Warner team, and you can just run over them. So
we saw the game where Russell Wilson threw 5 interceptions.
Right, exactly. Now I don't think he has to worry about that against something like a team like Detroit. So I'm going Seattle.
Now I think that Seattle definitely misses the field general nature of Earl Thomas, who was injured earlier in the season and he's out for the rest of the year with a broken leg. But I think Seattle can handle Detroit. And I say that because Matt Stafford was having an MVP season. And then he tore the ligament in his middle finger. Now he has to wear that glove that holds his finger up so he can actually grasp the football and throw the football.
Right.
And it's just bad timing, bad luck, whatever you want to call it. But I certainly think if Stafford was healthier, maybe they could have won the division. But then again, Green Bay, we can transition over to now. Green Bay has been a team possessed. 4-6. Talks of Aaron Rodgers being moved. Fans want Aaron Rodgers gone. Fans want Mike McCarthy gone. A lot of people were reporting Mike McCarthy could be fired soon. And Aaron Rodgers, a la a couple years ago when he gave his relaxed speech, comes out and says, we're not a bad football team. We can still run the table and win this thing. And nobody believed him. Naturally, everyone kind of laughed it off. You watch, ESPN First Take, and is Aaron Rodgers losing his mind, saying that they can win 6 straight games, and you know what? They did. They won 6 straight.
Yes,
they win the division. They get to host a home playoff game, and for their troubles, they get to host one of the hottest teams in the NFC. I mean, you've got this game may not only turn out to be the game of the weekend. This may turn out to be the game of the playoffs, because I think, my personal opinion, with how hot both teams have been, whoever wins this game could easily represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. That's how good both of these teams have been. Now, the Giants' defense has been stellar. But it just seems to me like Green Bay's got too much going in their favor, too much positive momentum. Home field advantage, 6 straight wins. Aaron Rodgers is looking like an MVP again. The defense is doing just enough to win games. I mean, it looks to me like Green Bay is ready to take this game, and I'm going to pick Green Bay over the Giants. I want to give Giants more credit because they're a fantastic football team, but I mean, if the Giants were playing, Detroit or even Seattle, I probably would have taken the Giants. But you're walking into a buzzsaw. If this game was in New York, I would have taken the Giants, or in the Meadowlands, I would have taken the Giants, no problem. I just think the home field advantage of Lambeau Field, the Packers, like I said, 6-game win streak. I don't see how the Packers can lose.
The last time the Packers played against the Giants, I believe they won 23-16. And I'm going to say that they're going to beat them again. And frankly, I want them to beat them again.
Well, yeah, because if the Giants beat the Packers, I mean, we both have Detroit falling. So we've got Seattle heading to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, no doubt about that. So the winner of the Giants and the Packers game goes to Dallas to face the Cowboys. And,
right.
I mean, excuse me, the only team to beat Dallas when it matters, because, I mean, Philadelphia beat Dallas, congratulations. You got your signature win of the season. But the only team to beat Dallas when it actually mattered were the Giants.
That's right.
I mean, the Cowboys went
11 to Giants,
13-1 against every other team this season that weren't the New York Giants.
Right, exactly.
And that game, Mark Sanchez, the game that they lost to Philadelphia, again, if you didn't pay attention, Mark Sanchez took most of the snaps in that game.
Yes.
So, I mean, at this point, we have, for argument's sake, we have Houston or Oakland against New England, mine and your prediction, and Pittsburgh versus Kansas City in the AFC. So, if we're going New England versus Oakland or Houston, I think for me, no question, New England. There's just, you don't make Tom Brady mad.
Yeah, it's not even going to be a game. I mean, it's going to be,
It'll be like a 35-14 or something like that.
Yeah, Bill Belichick, with nothing to prove, the last game of the season, came out and just put a hurting on, who they play, Miami?
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason for that. You could have rested your people. You got to buy. There was, no need to do what you did, but Bill Belichick has no chill. And
you know what? They had home field advantage to play for, so they played the cover off the ball.
They did, and they're gonna win. They're gonna win that game.
Okay, so we've got the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, and their opponent either Pittsburgh or Kansas City. Now this is interesting because Pittsburgh, we've seen the forward momentum they have, and I'm not a huge believer of forward momentum in sports. But when it comes to the playoffs, when it comes to teams like Pittsburgh who have been there before, who have done that before, essentially, I think that it matters. I think Ben Roethlisberger can get. I mean, you're going to Arrowhead, one of the hardest stadiums to play at. I want to think that Kansas City can do enough to win the game, but you got to find a way to get guys like Tyreek Hill involved a lot more. Is Spencer Ware going to be healthy? I mean, my heart says Kansas City, my brain says Pittsburgh, so I'm going to put Pittsburgh against New England for the AFC Championship.
I am not. I'm going to go with Kansas City.
That's fair.
I think Kansas City had a better season all around. They've been looking really good. They've been looking dominant. And I think they have enough firepower to outduel the Steelers.
I mean, if they can shut down Le'Veon Bell with the run game, if Justin Houston can get his knee back to playing shape, because he's had some problems, some swelling in his surgically repaired ACL in his knee from last year. If they can stuff the run and shut down Antonio Brown, they should be able to do it. But I certainly think they need to get guys like Tyreek Hill involved more, because we've seen when Tyreek Hill has the ball in his hands, it doesn't matter how terrible of a human being he is, because he is a terrible person. He beat up his pregnant girlfriend years ago, and it's one of those things where he comes out and he's like, oops, I didn't mean to do it. And it's like, okay, buddy. But that's a different conversation for a different time. He's an electric football player, and you put the ball in his hand, he's a game changer.
Right.
Get him the ball and make Pittsburgh stop him. And if Pittsburgh can't stop him, keep giving him the ball. I mean, I could see the game going either way, but like I said, I've got Pittsburgh in New England. And I think that New England, no matter who New England plays, they're a team on a mission. I mean, and if it's at that point, if it's Pittsburgh in New England, I'm going New England. Or if it's Pittsburgh and Kansas City, I'm going New England. I mean, I don't see, barring major injury, I mean, this is one of the best Patriots, the best well-rounded Patriots teams we've seen in a while, without Rob Gronkowski, nonetheless. I mean, LeGarrette Blount has had a career year, almost 20 rushing touchdowns. Brady has been lights out since he returned to the Patriots. I mean, he probably will win the MVP, if not finish a close second, which is insane. After missing the first 4 games of the season, he still comes back. He's still the best player in the league. So for that, I mean, I've got the Patriots going to the Super Bowl.
I can't disagree with you. I believe I predicted that. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I did. And so I'm not going to disagree with you. I believe the Patriots will be in a Super Bowl.
Now let's move over to the NFC because we've got some catching up to do here. So we'll leave the Cowboys game second because I know you'll have some thoughts on that. We've got Seattle in Atlanta. Now, this is interesting to me because it seems to me like every time, and again, this is a different Falcons team. It's not Mike Smith's Falcons anymore. But it seems to me like every time the Falcons make the playoffs, it doesn't matter how good they are in the regular season, it's like they always get exposed in the postseason. And I mean, when you're going to face the Seattle Seahawks, you're staring down the barrel of being exposed again. And I mean, I want to say, excuse me, I want to say that the Falcons can win this game. There's a possibility they could win this game. But I just think that Seattle, if they can put it all together, is better than Atlanta. And I mean, I think I want to put Seattle in the NFC Championship game as the road team, and see what we can do here. But I think Seattle would beat Atlanta in Atlanta for sure.
I can't disagree with you. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think Seattle is going to win, and I'm going to give them by a touchdown. I think it'll be a good back and forth type of game. The vaunted Seattle defense is not as stout as it used to be, and I think the offense of Atlanta has enough weapons to put up some points against them. I just think Seattle's going to outlast them at the end.
I mean, Matt Ryan's been fantastic. The running game of Atlanta has been fantastic. Julio Jones has been kind of banged up. The defense has been a revelation for them, but I just don't know if they're for real enough. And you know what? I want them almost to prove me wrong because I just don't know if it's something where I feel comfortable putting Seattle or them over Seattle, which is why, excuse me, like I said, no hesitation. Seattle. I think Seattle is going to be in the NFC Championship game again.
I agree.
As for the Cowboys, we both put Green Bay in with them being so red hot. I feel like for me, no dog in the fight, because Dallas has been so good, so well-rounded with Dak Prescott and with Ezekiel Elliott. I find it very difficult for someone to completely shut the Cowboys down. I certainly think that Dallas has been so fantastic. If Dak Prescott struggles, it always seems like Ezekiel Elliott has a game of his life. And I know that because I've had him in fantasy, and I've intently watched every Cowboys game that I can and just watch Zeke Elliott take over every single football game that he plays in. So I certainly think that, even if Dak Prescott struggles against the resurgent Packers defense, I still think he'll have no issue picking them apart. And if he does, you've got the best running back, arguably the most valuable player in the NFC, in Ezekiel Elliott, in your backfield. Feed the man the ball and see what happens. I mean, they have one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines, one of the best, if not the best, running backs. And then you've got Dak Prescott, who has guys like Jason Witten, Des Bryant, Cole Beasley to take the pressure off. So you know what? I've got Dallas close, but I still have Dallas versus Seattle in the NFC Championship game.
The Packers, as you said, they've been on a roll. They've been resurgent. They've been playing good football. But the last time these two teams met, Dallas, I believe, won 30-16. The Green Bay Packers just couldn't stop the run, and they were just picked apart. So, for my money, I'm going to say the same thing's going to happen again. And the Cowboys move on to the NFC Championship.
Hey, listeners, thanks for tuning into this podcast here on the Gear Radio Network. We're going to kick it off to a couple of our sponsors right now that help keep this podcast and others on this network going. Check it out. We'll be right back in a moment. I'm often asked about the logos of the show and Gear Network and everything. It comes to me, JC, where do you get the designs, the cool designs for the show and everything? And I want to tell you, I'm going to tell everybody right now, right here, you heard it here, it is IndyCard Media. IndyCard Media is a local business that specializes in making quality designs for your website or your business. Whatever you do, they can do it. If you need proof, you can look at all of our logos, or you can go to facebook.com/IndyCard Media to see all of the designs, which include a political banner, because they've done political banners and everything. Nothing is off limits with them. Give Eric a shout at IndyCardMafia@gmail.com, and he will help you bring your design to life. Tell him Gear Network sent you, and hey, he may hook you up with a little something, or at least a smile, because you heard it here. But go to IndyCard Media at Facebook. Again, Facebook.com/IndyCard Media. Do it now. Bring your designs to life. Hey everyone, John Cimino here for the Gear Radio Network, and you have asked and asked repeatedly, what is up with the app? We know you have one, and you never push it. You never do anything with it. Well, guess what? We got a better one, and it is free. It is absolutely available for you, and there's so much more you can do with it. Visit GearNetwork.com and click Get the App. It's up on the top banner, or if you're feeling really brave, head to GearNetwork.mobapp.at on your mobile phone and your mobile phone's browser, and you can take Gear Network with you wherever you go. Listen to every show on the Gear Network right from the app. You can view all of our social networks in real time. You can read Gear Network and BLTDsports.com blogs in real time, and you can also shop Amazon and help us out and help you out. It is free. Did I mention that? Again, GearNetwork.com or GearNetwork.mobapp.at. Download it right now. We now take you back to the podcast.
So now in the NFC Championship game, Dallas versus Seattle. I think it's going to be the same situation. I mean, Seattle has been exposed more often than not due to injury and ineffectiveness. But, I think that, like we saw with the Giants, if the Giants make the NFC divisional round and face the Cowboys, they've shown that Zeke Elliott can go off, but they're still able to contain him.
Right.
If the Seahawks can contain Zeke Elliott to 80 yards, maybe a touchdown, that's a good day for any defense. But it's going to come down to Dak Prescott, and he's shown in the regular season he has it in him, but when it comes to the playoffs, we all know it's a different kind of monster.
Right.
I think home field advantage will certainly be huge. Will the pressure get to him? I'm not sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you remember you have Tony Romo on the bench, and right. I don't think that they will go to Tony Romo, but you always have that bullet in the gun, in the holster. That
Romo showed on Sunday that he still has it.
Exactly. In a small sample size, he showed that he could still play, and he looks like he's back to normal. But we all know how that's going to play out. But I want to say Dallas, just for the sake of the best matchup available. I want to say it's going to be New England versus Dallas in the Super Bowl. And I know it's 2 1 seeds and that rarely ever happens, so we're probably going to be wrong somewhere. But in my sports fan heart of hearts, I think the 2 best teams in football, bar none, hands down, no doubt about it, in the AFC, there's nobody better than New England. Someone may be able to beat New England, but at the end of the day, no one's better than New England, and the same goes in the NFC. Someone might be able to beat Dallas, but I don't think there's a team in the NFC, the National Football Conference, that's better than the Dallas Cowboys. So my Super Bowl prediction, New England Patriots versus the Dallas Cowboys, February 5th, NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, what you just said.
Fair enough. Hey, you want to? We're gonna blast from the past here before we go to our for real in real life Super Bowl predictions. I want to take a step back. I'm going to give you mine first. It seems very simple, so we're just going to let it fly.
So who you got winning the Super Bowl?
The Patriots, for one specific reason. You don't piss Tom Brady off.
Right.
We've seen it happen multiple times. What happens? He goes out and wins.
I picked the New England Patriots. As I said my argument there, and you agree with me, Perez, you don't piss off Tom Brady. The man has something to prove. It's the greatest quarterback we have ever seen in the history of football. And I don't see why it stops here. I mean, maybe they go and lose, but you know what? I'd be willing to bet that if the New England Patriots get to the Super Bowl, they're going to find a way to win it. That's just how I feel. I don't like the Patriots. I'm a Bills fan. We all know that. It's been documented on multiple podcasts. But I'm a realist. And I realize that Tom Brady and the New England Patriots have one of the best teams that they've ever had this season in terms of well-roundedness, offensively, defensively, special teams. Everything seems to be rolling in the right direction. I mean, I don't see why it won't continue in February. The Super Bowl, if they make the Super Bowl, I know people are going to moan and groan and be little piss babies about it because they don't like Tom Brady. But you know what? He's the best. You got to get over it. Either get with it or get over it. And I'm getting with it. Like I said, I've got no qualms saying the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl. Now for you, Lewis, let's take a flashback and see what you said.
Even though it's a long shot, especially since we don't know about Romo's health, going with the Dallas Cowboys winning their 6th Super Bowl title.
Pretty damn spot on with that one. You said with Dallas, you said it's a long shot, and my friend, at that point in time, it was as long as a long shot. But you know what? Sometimes a long shot pulls off. And at that time, no idea about Zeke Elliott, no idea about Dak Prescott. You said Dallas is going to win the 6th Super Bowl, and hey, do you want to stick with that, or do you think that New England, because we both have New England and Dallas, do you have New England beating Dallas, or are you still sticking with the Dallas Cowboys?
You know what? My head is telling me that no one can beat the Patriots this year. And that the Patriots are going to win their 5th Super Bowl ring and tie my team for the 2nd most all time. My heart is telling me the Dallas Cowboys are going to win and win their 6th Super Bowl ring and tie the Pittsburgh Steelers for the most all time in the NFL.
Now, I did...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I spoke to John Cimino of Get Ready America, president and founder of Gear Network. And I made a joke in your direction, Lewis, and I think you'll get a kick out of this one, so I did have to share. I told John that when we were doing this, before we did this podcast, that you were going to predict, and hear me out. I'm not going to do an impression because it'll be a terrible one. I don't want to embarrass myself, but hear me out. Tell me how true this is of a statement.
Okay.
Maybe. I said Lewis is going to say, and I quote, in the Super Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys will beat the Pittsburgh Steelers to become the greatest NFL franchise ever because they'll win their 6th Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who also have 6 Super Bowls. But because Dallas has won the Super Bowl against them for the 6th Super Bowl, it makes them the greatest ever. And I was like, that sounds like something that Perez would say, because you said it before. Because even when the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys play, you always say, this is going to tell me who the greatest team ever is. And you know what? I mean, I don't think that I always find it difficult for people who try to say my team is the greatest ever because they have X amount of championships. Because in hindsight, it's all about how many championships you win in an era. Like, arguably, the greatest team ever, Belichick and Brady's Patriots, most likely will go down in history as the most successful stretch of team. Because it's with football, it's so hard to say a team because the team changes so much. So you got to grab, like, okay, Aikman's Cowboys, Brady's Patriots, like Jim Kelly's Bills, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not, everyone has their own different accolades. I'm just trying to think of chunks of teams with players. So that's, I certainly think that Dallas has a legitimate shot to make the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. But you have to beat the greatest quarterback ever. And with Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, I mean, unless it's Eli Manning in the Super Bowl, he's unstoppable.
Right. Here's the problem. The Cowboys' defense, when it comes to strong pass play, can be very suspect. People have shown that they can throw on the Cowboys' defense. The defensive line, though, in the last couple of weeks have really stepped it up and showed that they can be very dangerous. So, my prediction for the Super Bowl is that the Dallas Cowboys are going to beat the Patriots and get their 6th Super Bowl ring.
And like I said, I can't argue with that. I mean, if Dallas was 9-7 and a 6th seed, I might tell you crazy. But you know what? Aside from those 2 games against the Giants, it's hard to say anyone's better than the Cowboys right now, and that's that. I mean, and when it comes down to the end of it, you want to see the 2 best teams in football duke it out, and I mean, I'd be okay with Kansas City or Pittsburgh making the Super Bowl, or Seattle or Green Bay or the Giants, but that's not the best matchup. We want the best matchup. We want New England, we want Dallas, and we want it at the Super Bowl. And I think
it's going to be a great game if that happens.
Absolutely, because it'll be a complete slugfest. I mean, because you've got you've got Zeke Elliott and Dak Prescott versus Tom Brady, and I mean the Patriots defense is good. It's like a no-name defense, but it's good, and they make it work. They've got a good system there that makes every season in and out. They're winning as many football games as possible. Like I said, Brady's unstoppable. He's got Edelman. He's got Chris Hogan. He's got I forgot the guy's first name, but you got Mitchell, the rookie wide receiver. I mean, you've got LeGarrette Blount. It's just it's crazy how easy they make it look in New England. But like I said, they've got a good system. They've got it just works out. It just always works for New England, and it's almost like people don't like New England because they are such a good team, because they just continually win because they have such a great system. They make it work every single year in and out. And it's how you'd want your team to be. I mean, it's how I would like the Bills to be. It's how I'd like, baseball, hockey teams to be, is like the Patriots. Find a way to be able to supplant a Chandler Jones, one of the best young pass rushers in the game, trade him away, and somehow you're still better without him. Stuff like that.
I agree, man. The Belichick system is so rooted into that team that you can replace players, and it's the same exact thing. You know what? It reminds me of Alabama for college football. Every year Alabama's in that hunt and one of the most dominant teams because that Nick Saban system never changes. No matter who you switch out, that football team always looks the same.
And it's not even. Sorry, Perez. It's not even so much about who you change, but it's almost. It doesn't matter who's playing in the system.
Right, exactly.
You're still good.
And that's how it is with the Patriots. They're just a beast of a team.
And I think that's why a lot of people overvalue guys that come out of Alabama or come from New England, because there's the system there.
Right.
You take them out of the system, and all of a sudden, you find the broken spoke on the wheel, and it's too late at that point.
I agree.
Now, I want to share a quick personal story with you, because I haven't told you this, Lewis. I don't know if you've heard about this, but
Story time with Ryan Wolfe.
Week 16, fantasy football was the week for all championships to wrap up. Except for I'm in a work league now. Week 17, it's weird, but I'll take it. Whatever. I finished second. Week 16, Wolfensteiner Football League, the official fantasy football league of the Better Live Than Dead podcast. I was down by a handful of points because I had Jay Ajayi, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill on my bench. Bad mistake. Big mistake I made. 3 guys, about 75 points on my bench. So whatever,
Ouch.
I go into Monday Night Football down by 15 or 20 points, had Dan Bailey and Zeke Elliott left. With the last drive, I was up by a few tenths of a point, a couple tenths. Matt Stafford comes out, throws 2 checkdowns, and then they run the clock out. I lose by 0.32.
Ouch.
Okay? Story doesn't end there. I accept defeat graciously. Buddy Chris Downey, good friend of the podcast, has been in here before. He won the league. So he calls me, congratulations. It was his first time. Because we don't make it sounds kind of weird because it's kind of like a fun accomplishment between friends because, like you were in it last year, Lewis, when we had 10 teams. It's fun. It's a friendly competition between friends and family. And we try to have fun with that. A lot of people out there do the same thing with fantasy football. We try to have a good time. And, so Chris called, and I was like, congratulations, buddy. It was fun. The game was fun. We both could have made better decisions, but, whatever. And I had told Chris before the game started, it's a trophy, whatever. You already got a trophy, first or second place, you win, whatever. I told him I was going to ride or die with the guys I drafted. So, I put Amari Cooper in, and guys like that. All the guys I drafted, I played, essentially. So, Wednesday rolls around. It was Thursday rolls around. I'm sorry. It was Thursday, I think. Thursday or Friday. I go to check. It was Thursday afternoon. I'm sorry. I go to check my fantasy football team for work to update my lineup. And I go on to the league real quick because it looks like something changed. And I was like, what's going on here? So I go onto my team and my points changed. And I'm now the champion. So I go in my roster and I see what happens. And it says a stat correction was applied to Amari Cooper on Monday. Now, mind you, it took 3 days for it to post. So I go in. It says Amari Cooper has had 1 reception for 4 yards added. So I went from losing by 0.32 to winning by 0.08.
Ouch.
And I don't remember anything like this ever happening to me or anybody I've ever been around. So I didn't know how to react. But I immediately called Chris, apologized to him, said, sorry for ruining your day, but you didn't win. And he was stunned. But, it happens. It happens. I mean, fantasy football is pretty lit, man. That makes me excited. That makes me glad that I took off not having decimal points. Because those decimal points, man, they make things so much more exciting. No joke. In the third quarter of Monday Night Football, Detroit versus Dallas, there was a point where we were tied. 103.08 to 103.08. We were legitimately tied. And I'm like, this is absolutely insane. Because I had no shot. And then Zeke Elliott went off. And then they benched him for the third and fourth to rest him so he doesn't get hurt. And I just couldn't believe it. And if he had played, I would have won easily. If I had made better decisions, I would have won easily. But you know what? I tip my cap again. One of the craziest, if not the craziest games I've ever played in my fantasy football career. It made a lot of fun too because I spent a lot of time in the holidays with my girlfriend's family, and we had a lot of fun talking about fantasy and just kind of shooting the breeze about who plays where and what and when and how. And it's kind of an icebreaker. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Plus, I got a few text messages on. When they heard about that I'd won the trophy, they asked me how I was enjoying my nice new trophy, and not mad about it, because the Wolfensteiner Football League, we don't play for money, we play for trophies, we play for bragging rights, because, like I said, a lot of family, a lot of friends, a lot of local people, so we see the people that we play against a lot, so we can talk a bunch of junk to them, and I think now I'm going to get a giant traveling trophy. I think that's the next step. Make it a little more exciting. I change a couple rules up. We're going to add waivers. We're going to add keeper players, waivers, and I think we're going to get a traveling trophy. So it's going to create a little more excitement, I think. But, fantasy football is all about having fun. And I got to say, I had a ton of fun.
Yeah, man, if you got room next year, let me know. I'll get back into that one.
You know what? We might be able to make some room because I know it's kind of difficult to remain interested because if you're bad, whatever it may be. But I'm trying to continue to keep the league as exciting as possible because again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it doesn't really matter. Like you win or you lose. The only thing that matters is you guys have fun because it's fake. It's fantasy football. It's not real.
Right.
So, if you're taking that stuff seriously, you gotta probably you gotta reevaluate because like when Chris was freaking out about it, I'm like, dude, it seriously is going to be win or lose. Your life goes on.
Right.
You just get either you get a silver trophy or you get a colored football. But either way, you're getting a trophy. So enjoy it.
To get into the playoffs in the league that I was in this year, in John Savito's league, I had to beat someone. And going into Monday Night Football, I was down by 50 points. And I was like, well, there goes my chances. I'm not going to win. But then I had two players left. And Andrew Luck had one of the best games he had this season and scored 45.5 fantasy football points. And then my wide receiver scored 38 points. So I ended up winning by a good amount.
Yeah, and in my work league that I joined my work league last minute because I needed a guy. Came up to me, Tony. Tony, Tony. He's a friend of the podcast. Helped us out in the early days. Our old producer, Tony, the producer, came up to me and said, "Hey, Ryan likes fantasy football. Let him join." So I jumped in. I ended up going 9-5, finished second in my division, and I ended up finishing second in the league.
Right.
And you know what? I'm not mad about it. I mean, I lost out on some cash, but in the final game, the guy I was playing had Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers in our league, because the league, the scoring is a little higher. But, I mean, even this guy blew it out of the water. Like, our projections are normally a little over 200. So it was projected 230 to 211. I ended up losing 377.2 to 193.9.
Ouch.
So you know what? Some weeks you just got to take a good ass whooping, and I'm fine with it. I'm cool with it.
No doubt.
Because you know what? No matter what, end of the day, I get free lunch from the Fantasy Football Commissioner. Because that's how it works, apparently. You win, you get lunch and a trophy or lunch and cash. Second place gets lunch. So maybe I'll get a free burrito or something. I'm not mad about that at all.
No doubt.
But back to...
I ended up finishing fourth.
That's not bad.
The last 3 weeks, my team just absolutely collapsed.
Back to real football, though.
Yes.
I think we're in for a good slate of games. I mean, the good is definitely better than it has been. I mean, the good teams, the Green Bays, the Giants, Patriots, Cowboys, I mean, they are leaps and bounds better than the rest of the teams in the playoffs. But we all know how the playoffs work. It's luck. You got to put yourself in good positions to win so you can get lucky. And, when it comes down to it, it's the playoffs. You just can't predict them. I mean, we try. We try to predict them. We look like fools every year. But you know what? It's not going to stop us from talking about it. That's why we're here. We love to talk about this stuff. And I've been pretty damn excited for the past handful of weeks to discuss the NFL playoffs with you. And you know what? Maybe when it comes down to it, we can have a playoff preview, a Super Bowl preview coming up here shortly.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Super Bowl's a month away. Month and a half of days away. So give it a couple weeks. We'll be back. We got baseball coming up soon. We can meet up in person. We can talk some baseball. And you know what? I mean, maybe the Better Live Than Dead podcast will come back. I got some new equipment, man. I got some new podcasts and stuff. We're going to have some fun over here at the new Wolfe Den Studios, the new and improved Wolfe Den Studios, I should say, on the road at this point in time. But it's all gravy, my man. We're having some fun here. We're having some fun over at BLTD Sports. I mean, kind of slacking off a little lately because hockey hasn't been great and it's been a busy time of year. Holidays are always crazy. But
Right.
It's a new year now. 2017, can't believe it, but 2017 is here. The NFL playoffs are here. We're here. I don't know more you can ask for.
That's a true story. And it'll be fun to talk more sports with you. If let's make it happen. We didn't get to talk about the World Series, man, and that would have been a fun conversation.
It would have been, yeah. I mean,
But
the problem before was time and equipment. So now we've got the equipment
true.
part figured out. We've got all the equipment we need to make an easy podcast happen. Just need the time. That's all. So we can make it happen, though. We can make it work. I got no problem with that. But I want to say again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us. We appreciate you coming back. We appreciate you hanging around. This has been the NFL Playoff Previewcast, episode 99 of Better Live Than Dead podcast. And Lewis, you can follow Lewis on Twitter at MRLG Perez. I'm at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter. BLTDsports.com, Facebook.com/BLTD Sports. You can also follow us, I believe if I didn't say it, at BLTD Sports on Twitter. But for Mr. Perez, I am Ryan Wolfe saying, we are Better Live Than Dead.
you're not.
We'll catch you around sometime very soon with our BLTD Super Bowl preview cast coming up just a few weeks. We appreciate you tuning in. Thanks again, my friends. Have a good one.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.